Okay, welcome to another episode of the Rugby League Outsiders. We've got an incredible guest this week that I, for one, are really excited about. It's Roy Reeve, who's the assistant coach at Nottingham Outlaws and is also a head of recruitment, which is a first, I think, for our podcast so far. So we're going to be really interested in digging into that. So, Roy, it's only right that we give you a bit of time. You obviously before this podcast, you sent us a big bio. Karl and I read it and was like, holy shit.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, someone else. You need to, I don't want to butcher this. So please, tell us like your story sort of through rugby league to sitting on this settee now.
Right. Well, thanks for having me, lads. It's a pleasure to be here, and congratulations on your podcast, and I wish you all the success with it as well.
Oh, thank you.
My journey into rugby league, well, it started on Saturday mornings when I used to watch the rugby league on the TV, and I was amazed by the commentary. And every now and again there was a dust up, so it was really interesting. And my dad had it on, and I was a big sports fan, and I think rugby's in your blood. And I had a choice to make when I was a teenager between playing golf or playing rugby, and it was for rugby union. There's not much in the south for rugby league.
Yeah, we'll let you off.
Thank you. So rugby's in your blood, and it was a tough decision, but you can't play golf with broken fingers and the knocks. So I chose golf and went to be a decent amateur and an okay sort of professional on a national sort of tour. And then you grow up. Didn't really work out for me. Met my girlfriend. She was a northerner from Tadcaster.
All right.
And strangely enough, Kirsty, don't you?
Yeah.
Small.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just she looked after my kids at nursery.
No way.
In Dudley.
Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah.
So that's that story.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she was a relief manager, and she went from her place to another region just to straighten things out and to man the nursery, so to speak. And looked after.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, small world.
Brilliant,
It's
isn't it?
mental, yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. So where were we? So we decided to bring up a family, but Kirsty's brother-in-law works in an aircraft industry. It's a short story long. And that's not a big industry, but it's very big in Derby for obvious reasons. It's Rolls-Royce.
Rolls-Royce, yeah.
So he moved up, and we wanted to bring the children up together. So I moved up. And then I had to figure out, what I was going to do for work and that sort of thing. And one of the first ports of call was playing rugby. And I was asked to play rugby, and at 36. So it's like, a lot of people were retiring then, but I had another love affair with rugby, and I really got stuck into it. And I had some good years playing for just a social sort of level, and got interested in coaching. And then the coaching led into some roles at rugby clubs, and then into an academic journey. And then that is recognised in the rugby league sort of criteria, that coaching ladder. And led me to the university with a role. And then I watched Joe Shepherd, and I've got to give him a mention because he's an absolutely brilliant bloke. And I book him as a master coach, the way he is with people, and he engages people. He just got them. He says the right thing at the right time.
And Joe's just for anyone he's the head coach of Nottingham Outlaws, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a wonderful fella, absolutely wonderful. And he engaged me, and I was. It was like magic, honestly. It's like watching him operate. So he got me involved. So I went down to Outlaws. Obviously, it complements any rugby's rugby for me. Just increases my sort of coaching knowledge. And I've never looked back. So full circle for me since yay high, to this big.
Well, and I think you've been incredibly modest in the, in what you've learned about coaching, which we'll talk about as we get through into the podcast. So if you've got any interest in coaching or sporting excellence at all, then this is definitely an episode to listen to. Brilliant. Okay, so we can find out a little bit more about the stuff that you're up to. What we always start with is a brief history, what you know of Nottingham Outlaws and how it came about. You know what I mean? And then how you kind of got involved from there.
Well, it's a lovely story. They progressed from the Mansfield Marksmen, and some lads decided to play into the city with a change of season that they wanted to play in. So there was a few rugby league teams in the city, as I've been told, and Richard Johnson, our chairman, played for the Crusaders, which is one of those offshoots,
right,
who decided to play in that summer league. And then there was quite a big setup. They played some like a Wigan or a St Helens at the Harvey Haddon. One of those. It's on tape.
Yeah.
So there was up there. And reading from our wiki page, just to refresh my memory from what I've been told, I don't think there was any payment, or some lads didn't stop coming down from South Yorkshire. So the Nottingham City Rugby League become a little bit less competitive,
right?
And it's come to a natural sort of end. But the Outlaws, who were spawned from that, they continue to play in that summer league. Does that answer your questions?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So we've got a good history. We was nomadic for a while, and then we found a home at Lenton Lane. And that was an old football ground.
I was going to say I wanted to talk to you about that, because the Outlaws are one of the few teams in the Midlands that they actually own their own ground, don't they? Or it's only them that play there, isn't there?
That's right. It's we lease it off the council.
Right.
Yeah. We've had a touch recently as well, because they was doing some bridge repairs on the A52 in the city. And the guys who was making the repairs didn't have anywhere to park their vehicles. They kind of helped each other out. Yeah. And we got a car park. So that's, it's really, really good.
All right.
And anything.
That works out all right for you.
I know it's a bit random, but anything, I think anything that increases the facilities, makes them more accessible, engages people and engages them for longer. So it's common sense, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Especially with the generation we're talking about, your 20, 25-year-olds now, they want nice, sparkly, new sort of looking places.
Absolutely.
They want somewhere to park the car and, pay on their credit card, no cash, that sort of thing, or on their phone. So, it's you have to adapt to that. And you have to run your club as a business. It has to be attractive. And, you need those threads into players. And social media, one of these, this podcast would be another,
Yeah, when we first started talking about this podcast, and Fred Baker was the guy that we spoke to first, and he was said, then he goes, right, you must speak to Roy up in Nottingham. You've got to speak to him about
Really?
Yeah. And he said they've got their own club. They've got their own clubhouse, they've got great facilities and all that. And he really did sort of point you out as someone to speak to about that. He said,
well, I'm pleasantly surprised. I've spoken to Fred. I've not met Fred. I've spoken to him a couple of times on some Teams meetings and stuff like that. And I hear he's a really, really nice guy. And, well done to him with Telford Raiders. I know you both still play, or old boys?
It's one of them.
It's
every
in
week
between us.
Yeah, we'll decide by end of season.
Craig was saying...
But we are involved.
Yeah, Craig was saying you've done such a good job with the social media that he wanted to return just that one more year.
Well, no, I said I did think about it.
He's been crawling out of that one all week as well since we started.
Yeah, so, you're right. I think you're right in that, when a lad turns up, or a girl turns up to play rugby, and they've got some great facilities, like it's all, they're almost proud. They're proud. They walk a little bit higher, and they're proud to sort of turn up and play there.
Well, there's a little bit of science behind that as well. They want to belong to something that's probably bigger than them.
Yeah.
And have an identity, and team sports bring that such joy. When you do play, we all play team sports. It really is a must for me. I'm less about playing team sports now than since I've stopped.
Yeah,
which is a great shame, because coaching is, I wouldn't say it's the arse end of rugby league, but because you've got reffing, haven't you? So coaching sort of like it satisfies me enough, but it's no substitute for playing.
Well,
play as long as you can.
Yeah, you need a good coach. You know what I mean? You've got to have good coaching. What would you say is the makeup of a Nottingham player then? I mean, you know, you're obviously a deep thinker. You know a lot about coaching. What's the kind of what ethos do you have there at the Outlaws?
Well, at the moment we're looking to move the ball, so ball movement in our play, and because generally we could be not as big as the opposition, so we have to think a little bit more intelligently about our play. So we've got a framework of play. So if it all goes to rat shit, we go back to our framework and start again. But then we'd like to play some heads-up rugby, probably tempo instead of structure. Yeah. You know, if we are on top, we have got a bit of a roll on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've got some good thinking behind it. It's early days for this team with that thinking. But we're hopeful, and I'd like to say we're going to have a winning season.
So, so do you encourage free-flowing play, or are you like you said you like to move away from your structures? This sort of stuff interests me, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Do you encourage off-the-cuff play?
Very much so. Yeah, but you have to have a framework for your starter plays and to fall back on, because like any plan, it works until you get hit in the face.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of that.
Famous quote,
Yeah. So you've got to have a framework to come back to. And even if it's totally random, totally off the cuff, jouet.
Yeah.
You're still, because you've thought about the way you can play, it's a safeguard rather than going into the game and not having that framework of play.
I always think it depends on your players as well. Your 6, 7 and your 9 are your pivotal players, aren't they? And some teams work better with a real off-the-cuff player, and other players work better as a sort of structured. Would you say I'm not going to ask you to name your starting players, but your sort of spine of your team, would you say they're a more off-the-cuff sort of set of lads, or are they...
We've chosen the spine of the team around their skills that they've got.
Yeah.
So, and I was tasked with some passing skills pre-season up until now, and I'm going to keep going because, if we want to move the ball, we've got to learn how to pass, and that's a skill in itself.
I had an interesting...
Sorry, and the length of pass. And if I said chaos earlier, I apologise. It's unstructured. So it's unstructured plays, never chaos. Chaos, you've lost control. It's unstructured.
What was that? Don't know. I heard a quote this week from Luke Gale, and Luke Gale's a very structured player. He always appeared to be. He likes to attack the line, but he's a very structured player. But he said he hated playing with Jake Connor.
Yeah.
Now Jake Connor's a brilliant player, isn't he? Absolutely maverick player, but he's one of those off the cuff players, and he said it never really worked for him because there were two complete opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, I understand that. So it's chemistry. Yeah, some players you just can't get on with because those maverick sort of players are very hard to read. So what you're doing during the game of rugby is actually picking up on some visual cues, aren't you? So to select the skill that you're actually going to use next. And those maverick players play so late and do so many things that are a bit different. They're almost like a one-man team, aren't they?
Yeah. As much as you can't have a one-man team, they are a one-man team. And Jake Connor, you look at his try assists and all that. Man, he had a stinker this weekend, didn't he? The closing minutes of the game.
Apart from not knowing what the score was.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, mercurial players are in and out.
They're either brilliant or terrible.
Yeah, so needs a little bit more structure.
I'm going to just throw a random question out there, actually. Favourite maverick halfback? Have you got one? A player who you think just is completely off the cuff?
Jake Connor's a massive favourite of mine. And, I love what he does. You know what I mean? And he's a local lad for me as well. He cut his teeth at the Siddle Club, and I know lots of people there, and it's very close to where I grew up. And so he's a big favourite of mine.
I've always liked watching Jared Samet.
Yeah, quality.
But he used to drive me crazy because he was at Bulls, wasn't he, for a few years, and one minute he was absolute dynamite. He's just taking the team on his own, doing things that people wouldn't expect, and then next minute he's just booting ball out full and can't catch, and he was like you could turn him off like a switch.
Yeah.
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 You got anybody?
I agree with you. Yeah. And we've played Siddle. Those in our league. Yeah. Always loved the way Siddle play. Yeah. Quite old fashioned to start with.
Yeah.
All round the ball. And then they spread out and they and execute their skills very well. I think we've I'm not sure if we've scored up there or not. We've come up against some good Siddle sides.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's last couple of years most of the lads coming through Siddle are picking up pro contracts somewhere.
Yeah,
a friend of mine has he took an age group through, and as they reached like 16, 17, the whole team pretty much was on terms at one club or another. Incredible.
My first ever game was, I think, was against Siddle.
Was it?
First ever, yeah, when I was like 6 or 7 or something.
Yeah. Anyway,
not that we're talking about Siddle. But anyway, we've got completely off the point.
we have,
Siddle's defence was a masterclass.
Oh, was it?
Always remember it. Yeah.
Yeah. Quality.
Yeah. Everybody talking. It's exactly what you want.
If we can talk a little bit more about Nottingham, and then I know Karl wants to talk about some of the university rugby.
Yeah.
Nottingham's a great city. It's kind of, like famous for the piss up and, just famous for so many things. What are the benefits of having a rugby league club in a place like Nottingham?
It's central. It's a young town, good social, and it's supported by 2 universities. And I think it's quite densely populated, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a sporting town. It's got ice hockey, got a professional rugby union. It's got a racecourse. It's got 2 football clubs. So really, to be in such a sporting town as a rugby league, we do well. So we do attract a lot of people.
That must make it quite difficult with such a lot of essentially different sporting competition around you.
Yeah. So my point is that we do quite well. But traditionally, I think if rugby league is the 3rd sport in any town, it doesn't survive. Yeah.
Right.
If you go back to Northampton, you've got a big rugby union there.
Yeah.
You've got quite a good football club. There was a good football club. And then they had a really good rugby league set up, but it didn't quite take off, did it? Back in the day, did they go back down to Bedford?
It disappeared, I think.
Yeah, but they was good, wasn't
it? Back to, I think it was Bedford.
Yeah, I remember playing Bedford and getting absolute kicking down there.
Yeah, they had a lot of ambition, didn't they? So there's a bit of a theory about if you're the 3rd sport in a town, that you're going to struggle. So choose your venue carefully.
So where are you? Number 2?
Good God. What?
If you say what number spot are you in the town?
We're 5 or 6. But we've got a lot of people.
That's throwing your theory out the window, straight away.
It's a theory, yeah. It's we, as I say, we do well. On the negative side of that, because we are a city club, the only city club in Nottingham, that there's a lot of people come and go. So we do our best to engage people. Yeah, we really do. We have schemes of incentives, and I think that's great with Midlands Rugby League as well. The amount of exposure and incentives, and that creating that identity where you want to belong to a place. And I think Sherwood's got that really well done to Adam Bates and John Doherty at Elks as well. That what he said, inspiring others to play. Yeah. So there's some strong identity in the Midlands.
Do you advertise a lot at the universities to bring players in from the uni, or are most of them are the local lads?
Ideally, would like to see some lads on the tools, so to speak, who play rugby league and who've come through our junior section. I think we had 5 or 6 that started the other day for the first team, come through our junior. So that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's credit to our junior coaches and our club. And then there's a link, and that's where I drop in because I coach at the University of Nottingham for Rugby League. And also, it's just nice to ask the question to develop some people in their rugby skill, whether they play league or union, because I'm involved in both. So, that door's always open. And not everybody's, they're busy, students, and it can be a bit flaky. But there's some really good lads, and the lads who've bought into the process, been invited down to the club or found their way to the club, have really had a great time and improved their rugby skills. So, highly recommended. Yeah.
Roy, I just want to talk. So you mentioned before about academic process through the game. All right, and remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Like a week ago, and you're studying quite a high level of coaching. I think you're going to end up with, is it a doctorate by the end of it, or yeah. What regular sort of patterns or conversations are you having with the players in regards to like improving their performance or whatever?
So you can go through a scientific sort of lens and look at things, but a lot of that is just a blurb. So what you want is clarity. So you're going to have to put it in a nutshell. And you find the coaching tool to relate and build a rapport with a player. And the tighter you have that, the better the performance, really. If you can motivate your players to intrinsically motivate, so you motivate your players to do tasks off their own back.
Yeah, to the best of their ability because they want to do it, yeah.
That's right, yeah. So once you've got that, you've got a buy-in, haven't you? And a lot of our sort of like recruitment is peer-to-peer as well. Yeah. So if one's having a good time, usually gets two.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
a lot of man-on-man sort of management.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, we've got a really good captain as well, who's a boxer. Yeah, he's
I'll avoid him if I.
he's handy. Yeah. He punches up, so to speak. Excuse the pun. He's a winger, Corey. He's a really nice bloke. You'd follow him into battle.
Yeah.
So it's all about being nice people, isn't it? Really, and that's what coaching's all about. Just being a good human being.
Do you think coaching there's a bit of a nature, argument, isn't there? You know what I mean? Do you think people are born and they've got a good ability to coach? Do you think it's something that can be learnt?
Both.
Yeah.
I could cop out and say it depends.
Yeah.
It only depends to a point. I think people are naturally more giving sometimes, so they make better coaches. Then again, you could be dictatorial in what you're doing, a bit more tell style. So it's not a bad way, because some people just don't want the round the houses sort of like view of things. They're just really told. That's fair enough.
Straight talking.
Yeah, and there's a lot to say about instruction recently. There was a paper come out of Loughborough, I think there was. The old-fashioned instruction. Well, that's a bit of a tell, but actually it works. That's what the military do. They instruct. So that's a good method of coaching. So that's a bit of a lost art as well. Yeah, so instruction is good.
So you've been involved, you mentioned a few different, you was involved with Sale Sharks, was it?
I'm still involved. I'm still involved with Sale Sharks.
And you've golf and so you've picked up all these different sort of skills from various different clubs. Do you think that's rounded you as a coach or as an administrator?
I've still got my coaching boots, thankfully.
Right.
Administration's probably a little bit further down the line for me. No, I love to coach. My passion is coaching. With golf, I did play professionally, so I have a good view from the player backwards and what's required and how you scaffold support for the athlete. Because I didn't have much, and I didn't find out about it either. So, but now I'm a bit more of a curious consumer. So I get to find out about these things, and I love learning. I think it's all part of being successful. So. With golf, because it's such a fine motor sport and it's very quick, that you can develop a very good coaching eye because it happens so quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So when you play a grosser motor sport, played with bigger muscles, so you have less youth in you in the game. So golf, you peak at 35, maybe even later now with some conditioning. Where rugby, you finished at 30, 32. Yeah, you're pretty done. So the bigger muscles are less of a mental sport. But I feel that I've got a good advantage in coaching because I can see things quite quickly. But the challenge is to put it into a nutshell and be clear with it.
Yeah.
But that's pretty across the board, really.
Great answer, that one.
Yeah, great answer. Yeah.
Thank you.
Touch on Nottingham Uni then, Rugby League at Nottingham. You're involved with that. What does it? Which is the first time we've ever spoke to anybody who's involved with the University Rugby League.
It's brilliant.
So just give me and the people listening a bit of a. How does it look? What's the structure of the leagues? How many games is it played per season? When is it played? That sort of thing. Really, I'm just interested to know.
Well, an overview would be that it's structured competition. It's called BUCS, British University and Colleges. We play in the Prem North, which is a fair bit of travel for us, but that would include Oxford and Cambridge. As a first team, we've been promoted, I think, saving a couple of playoff games against Cambridge that we've beaten already, so we're hopeful there. And then we'll progress into the top BUCS University League, and they're split between North and South. And North is tough because we're in the Midlands. You play against proper leaguers that have had hours and hours and hours of deliberate practice before a club, where the lads at university come from all over, mainly northern lads in that team, but we're lacking on those sort of like hours of practice. Yeah. So in youth rugby,
I saw a tweet. Someone copied us in on something. Actually, it was on. I think it was today. Newcastle Uni. I think it's Newcastle. If I got this wrong, I apologise. But I think it's Newcastle Uni are essentially paying some students' fees if they go to
like a scholarship.
If they like they do in America with like the college football and sort of thing. Is that anything you've ever heard of before down here, or is that something that's new? And it's a little bit controversial. What's your opinion of it?
So I haven't heard of it. I think it does happen. We do it at Nottingham Outlaws. We have a scholarship fund, which is bankrolled by some old boys who pay for some gym facilities and stash for a student of talent. And we keep it exclusive. So we have 7, 8 applicants per year, and we choose 2 or 3. And those 2 or 3 players have to attend training and fulfil a certain amount of fixtures. So I think that's a brilliant idea.
And that's at the Outlaws, not at the Nottingham Uni.
Correct. That's at Outlaws with NTU, which is the other university in Nottingham Trent University. We have a good relationship with them.
Right.
With the University of Nottingham, where I coach, we're still at the fledgling stage of that scholarship. They're open to it. We just haven't
organised it all and
got
the ducks in a row.
That's right.
Yeah.
Ducks in a row.
Yeah.
And do I think it's a good idea, or did you say it's a moral issue?
Well, it's just a talking point, isn't it?
So I'm not religious.
It's not something I'd ever thought about, to be honest with you. And I think there's a bigger question here about whether University Rugby League could be the stepping stone into the professional game.
Well, I hope so. If there's a pathway, why not? You want threads for players, don't you? So I'm not against it, but I can see some sort of like a downside of it. But it happens. So
what's the downside? I'm struggling to see a downside. I can't, apart from one university monopolising the best players, or is that it? Or
well, when there's money involved, it
gets a bit muddy.
Yeah, I think so. It's amateur sport, isn't it? University amateur sport, but scholars they do. They do give out scholarships for many sports. So, yeah, I'm okay with it.
The American system works so well, though, doesn't it? If you look,
I think every university does it, doesn't it? That's the impression I get.
In fact, I just recently applied for a job with an American firm who are touting for British talent to go out and play several sports in America. So I thought I'd fit in quite well there.
Yeah.
So hire me. Thank you. Or is it pick me? I can't remember.
Pick me.
Yeah, pick me.
Yeah. I can't. I'm struggling to see a lot of a downside line.
No, I don't think it's. I mean,
I don't know if it fits quite right with me. I'm okay with it, and it happens with other sports, and I'm glad it's possibly happen in every league. I mean, that feed into Newcastle Thunder, wouldn't it? Really?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So they would attract like some talented athletes there, but
It just feels wrong. Feels a bit dirty.
Is it a level playing field? University, don't know. You might have to include agents there as well. Would you include agents?
I don't know. I mean,
fees?
The thing is, like union for a long time, is an amateur sport. You know what I mean? But it weren't, because you had your boots sponsored, you got a car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They paid you in other ways. You know what I mean?
Your wife worked in club shop.
No, exactly.
She got 20 grand a year for.
Yeah. So you just.
Yeah.
It was just creative accounting.
Yes.
And so I think it's all going to go on. You know what I mean? It's.
You're okay with that?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I've got a bigger appetite for risk or something.
I do think, thinking about it now, University Rugby League is a good way to expand the game across the country, really.
Well, I tell you this. So this women's game again. So there's two local twins here to Bridge North, right? Both great athletes. They're tiny, but their weight category, they were, British amateur standard weightlifters at like 15-year-old. They went to Liverpool. One went to Liverpool, one to Salford University. They both play a league now, and they're both doing really well. That wouldn't have happened unless they'd gone to uni up north. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dare say if they'd gone to wherever, or even north of the border. I think one of them's doing nursing. If they'd gone to Dundee, big nursing university, they might not have played league. So whatever it takes to attract these people. Yeah, I'm all right with it. Like, I don't know.
Here's a bit of a curveball for you. Would you do you think that youth athletes should play just the one sport or two sports to bring their development along? Because the thinking is two, isn't it? But the more I think about it, I think it should be one, because anybody who's really, really made it have just been concentrated on that sport at a young age.
Ooh,
yeah.
Yes, that's a difficult question.
Should we leave that open, or do you want to answer that?
No. I mean, what's your thoughts? You've obviously got a bit of a take on it.
As I said, more I think about it, there should be one.
Yeah.
Maybe at an earlier age.
Yeah, I think
Say
early
12
on. I mean, there's some sports that complement all sorts, don't they? It's like a friend of mine, he's a keen, he's a triathlete, and he takes the piss out of me because I just run. And I'm like, yeah, but the other two sports you do is just rehab, innit? It's like everyone else's rehab is swimming and cycling. So it's just rehab, So, and it complements other sports. So I think perhaps gymnastics at an early age would complement a lot of sports: relative strength, flexibility, speed, agility, balance, coordination, all those things. So,
but would you specialise in a sport a little earlier, say at rugby at 12? Rather than 14 carrying or 16 carrying on with two sports? Or is it depends?
No, I think...
I don't think you should specialise too young, personally.
No?
No. Have you ever seen the Rugby Union USA Sevens team? Is it Sevens that they play, or is it Nines? I always get mixed up.
Big fan.
Sevens, isn't it?
Perry Baker and... What's the other winger? What's his name? Karl and Iles.
Yeah, I think it's Colin. Yeah.
Wow.
They were all sprinters, weren't they?
They were.
So they've come from the athletics field, and now they've created sort of a world-winning Sevens rugby union side, aren't they?
Yeah, in my experience, not too many athletes make the transition to rugby. They're just not built that way. They're quite... not hardy enough, not resilient in contact.
Might need to get some MMA fighters in or something like that.
Yeah, well, that's, combat
great,
sport.
wouldn't it?
Yeah, combat sport like that would be...
But Hulk Hogan. It'd build my team.
Ripping the shirts off. Yeah. Okay, just sort of, you mentioned before about Sale. And the stuff that you do at Sale, obviously that's, for us, that's a whole world that I've never really experienced before, a club at that level. So what's your role there? What do you do? What's kind of your day-to-day with Sale? And yeah, that's a good enough question to get us going, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm a lead coach for Sale DPP, and that's the lead coach of Cheshire.
All right.
That's what I do. We train every other week, and we have fixtures throughout the year to develop youth rugby for under 16s. That's part of the junior academy. Before they get sent up, and only a few players get sent up into the 17s.
Yeah,
that shadow the under 18s, which is the A academy, which play the Premiership fixtures. So I'm part of that journey, and I've nominated a few players, and they're still going. Yeah, so it's really exciting. It's I do a lot of leg work, and I've got to say, Sal is absolutely fantastic. Not only do I, got a role there, I support Sal as well. That's my rugby union. Yeah, and it's full of leaguers, isn't it? I've met Deeks, Andy Forshaw,
Mike Forshaw, isn't it?
Sorry,
Mike Forshaw, is it?
Apologies.
Yeah.
Mike. He's moved on now, so we forgot all about him.
All right.
He's the Welsh national defence coach, isn't he? Yeah. So, I really enjoyed the journey. Really supported as a coach. The coach education is wonderful. They do reach out into the community as well, so it's like they get everybody pulling for the team, and they've got a couple of things going, like the Rugby in the North Matters, and their DNA as well, which gives us, an identity of how we're going to play and what we do about it. And it's as a coach, it's broken down into being a defensive warrior and a creative attacker and the best teammate and that sort of thing. So it's some really good values to aim at. Not only for the player as a coach as well. We've got to understand that as well. But it's very clear. It's deep, possibly too detailed. You can edit that if you want. A little bit more off the cuff play could be a good thing. But the boys do their own thing anyway. That's the way we roll. We give them a lot of autonomy, and they've got to look after themselves and be resilient as they grow into the club. Yeah.
So you're involved in bringing sort of these juniors up into the sale structure, is essentially, yeah.
Yes, yeah. When I applied to Noel Speed, who's one of these fantastic line manager guys, and Jack Leach as well. We have a lot of support, and I actually forgot about the application. It's through the COVID years, so when it come round, it was actually quite a nice surprise that they picked me on spec, really. Of I'm sure Noel done a little bit of digging, because he's level 4 mentor, is my line manager at the university, so he takes the level 4 sort of like criteria, that course, so that's quite high up the coaching ladder.
I just want to touch on Paul Deek. I've got another question in it, but Paul Deek, and then
square,
fantastic rugby league player. What's he like as a rugby union coach then?
He's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. He had him on fire when he first started there. And then I think he had a few injuries or different personnel. That back line changed a bit, maybe a bit of fiddling around, lost a bit of form. But he's back. Yeah, he's got some good philosophies about the game. Attacking square in his accent. I can't take him off. It's wild.
What do you think makes, because there's a lot of rugby league coaches have now crossed over, haven't they, into rugby union? Notably in the Six Nations, Andy Farrell, etc.
Yeah.
What do you think makes a good rugby union coach coming from a rugby league background?
As in what aspects of rugby league?
What aspect?
Translate well into rugby union.
Yeah, I didn't phrase it quite right. Yeah.
No, you're okay. I think it's the detail. My experience of it would be the level of detail and the expertise. So you're going back into how can I explain it? It's a different view on the game, and it's made the game better. Yeah, both ways. I feel. Yeah.
And why do you think we don't see it happening as much the other way around? Rugby. I don't think I've seen many top flight rugby union players coming in to coach rugby league.
Money.
Well,
it could be money.
There was Griff. He was at Doncaster for a bit, wasn't he? He done the Welsh
I don't know.
Crusaders back in the day.
I don't know.
Yeah. Big fan. I think because of money, simply.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
And then
And maybe the opportunity.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bigger stage. You know, there's no denying it. You know, it's huge stage, like, you know. So, and ultimately people, you know, those kind of people want to get to the top of their game and, you know, and go as far as they can, and crowds are bigger and money's greater. And
Next time you speak to Paul Deacon anyway, say, do you remember that lad that used to bring your kicking tea on at Bulls?
Yeah, that was you.
That was me. Yeah.
Was it? All right.
There was a ball boy at Bradford I used to bring his kicking tea on. And then they replaced me with a remote control car.
Oh, well.
I never forgive him for that. I was actually there when he had a horrific injury. Paul Deacon did. He swallowed his tongue on side of
right.
pitch.
Yeah, I remember it.
I was there on side of pitch that day. It was a very scary day.
Yeah.
Wasn't nice to see at all.
And credit to Sal as well, because they stuck with Deeks. He took over the first team coach before Alex Sanderson, and had a rough time of it, but they stuck with him, you know, and you know, it's quite easy to upset South supporters.
Yeah. Right, I want to touch on rugby union. It has a very tiered system, doesn't it, with the levels, the different levels that they go through to essentially make it professional. Level 6, level 5, it's that sort of thing, isn't it?
Yep.
What can rugby league learn from rugby union in developing players?
I think you've got to put the stepping stones in and adjust the coach's behaviour and coach education, for me personally. So you've got to have that clear player pathways, and you've mentioned the university, which we've all agreed it was a good thing.
Yeah.
And hopefully that will flourish. I'm sure that will. That's up to the universities to see business in it, really, to be blunt. And then once those pathways, you'll have the representative sides at a certain age, maybe under 20. That would be a good thing, and possibly regional rugby that could feed into, and then you'll get the professional clubs send out their people and have a look at that sort of like regional rugby. So, yeah, I don't think there's a regional rugby league set up. Definitely not county, though. I think they touched on it somewhere along the line. Somewhere.
They used to be.
Yeah.
They used to be. Like, I used to play for Yorkshire, and we used to play Yorkshire, Lancashire, and we used to go up Tyneside and that sort of thing. I don't know if it exists anymore. I'll be honest. I generally don't know. I don't hear about it. I know the Midlands had a Midlands League, sort of a Midlands rep team once upon a time.
Yeah, my neighbour went on that tour over to Russia.
Oh, right. Okay,
yeah. Danny Rimmel. Yeah. And his brother Josh was a good player and ended up being around the Sheffield Eagles setup. Yeah. Both talented, both, and had a few games for Outlaws as well, so that was good.
Yeah.
Do you think, I'm going to go back to the university side of the rugby here. Do you think it would work if essentially Super League and Championship teams each linked with a different university, and that was essentially the development squad? Do you think that'd work?
That's a good idea. I'm all for trying that sort of thing. Perhaps, I mean, if you took the Midlands, there's no reason why not. There can't be a Midlands Academy again, but for an older age group, and possibly the freshers from university could be involved. So it could be under 19s, under 20s, and then they could play those sides at. I know Castleford's got development sides at college, haven't they? They've got a college there.
Not anymore. I don't know.
No, I'm sure they have. Yeah, because we was hoping to do something similar with Nottingham College. For instance, they've their ladies program with Notts County Football was brilliant. I mean, people come from far and wide to do it. I mean, the ladies actually accept the level of travel. So they would do that with rugby league as well. So, yeah, we're trying to get something off the ground there. It's still in its embryonic sort of stages. Yeah. But, yeah, it starts with an idea, doesn't it? Yeah, so why not?
I think Leeds have got like a relationship with Carnegie. You know, Leeds Carnegie, you know, I think that's been around certainly when I was at school. You know, the kind of aim was to get to Carnegie, because then your chances are you're going to get looked at by Leeds, and then, you know, and they used to have like summer school of excellence where you'd go and do training at the, you know, at Carnegie in the summer, and So I think it might be like loose ties, but it'd be good to see
it's not a proper structure, is it?
Yeah, if IMG come in and said, right, in part of your bid or whatever, you need to have aligned with a university, that'd be a great.
Yeah, and on the back of that, they get funding, wouldn't they? So it'd be official. Yeah, I think rugby league has been a little bit too flaky in times past. Maybe it's time for to get out and back something away from Cornwall. I know we spoke about that on the phone because you was going to find out, the Cornwall project.
Yeah,
you was going to find out about how many clubs are actually
I haven't had a chance to look, unfortunately.
There was one before.
Yeah, there was definitely Devon Sharks or something existed down there, definitely. There was somebody, Pirates.
Yeah, and the Cornwall and Devon rugby league teams do play off in a cup, and I think that's still going. It's a memorial trophy or something named after a gentleman. So
touching back on that then, you don't think that's necessarily a good idea because it's too far out? Is that what you're saying? For rugby league to develop, you just think it's too far? Yeah.
Sorry, we have gone off on a tangent here, but sorry. Going back to our phone call before the show, yes, because I think you should build rugby league around the strongholds of rugby league, and then venture out. I think it's just too far away. So, for instance, it would be the next county over. Why not the Midlands instead of the Southwest, where it's not really supported? So you could argue it was a really risky thing to do when they went to Newcastle Thunder. But there was several rugby league clubs spawned afterwards and ladies rugby league in that area. So that was a success. So, credit where credit's due. But that's not too far away, is it?
No.
Geographically.
No.
But do you think?
I think it is. I think it's a lot. It's a fair travel from Yorkshire. And I think Newcastle's been a success. I think they are competitive now. They are growing a sort of strong fan base. It helps that they've took the Magic Weekend up there.
Yeah,
because it's got a lot of interest in there up in Geordie land. But I think that's quite a step away from Yorkshire. Agreed.
But it's a northern sport.
And you're in the north.
Way up north.
Yeah, but it's a football town.
Yeah, is it the third sport? It's like 20 questions, isn't it?
What's going on?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's third sport, isn't it? Because you'll have rugby. There's massive union,
Yeah, Newcastle Falcons are up there.
They're not very well supported though, are they?
No.
They're a little bit on the limb.
Yeah.
Blown my theory to bits again. Something I just heard. It's a point of interest, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
that's what theories are for.
Yeah, exactly.
To be proved wrong.
Yes, I hope the Cornwall project works because I like what they're doing. There might not be many amateur clubs around there, but can it grow from an established professional or semi-professional club?
I think it's a wait and see, isn't it? Brave move, well done, wait and see. If you don't make these bold moves,
I mean,
it's closer than Toronto.
Yeah, it's definitely
Sonny
closer.
Bill wants his shares back, by the way.
North Wales Crusaders, they were born out of a development project, weren't they? There weren't many rugby league teams around there when they started that. Did it died essentially because they're not in Super League anymore, but they're still an established League One club now.
Yeah, so left the footprint, didn't it?
Yeah. So it could work. Cornwall could work.
We'll see.
I'd like to go down there and see it.
Yeah. It'd be good in the summer. It'd be great in the summer.
I've already checked out the fixture with Midlands Hurricanes. Actually, it's in the middle of June.
Is it?
Yeah.
Be about 5 hours door to door, wouldn't it?
It's a trek. It's a trek. Okay, Karl, you had a question about all the different sports that Roy's involved in and like the crossover into rugby league.
I think we've covered it essentially. I just wanted to what rugby league could learn from other sports essentially.
That's a good question. What could rugby league learn from other sports?
Yeah, especially stuff that you've seen. You know what I mean? Like, you know, whether it's been in the union game, golf, you know, all these different, like, you know, what could we take from those that improve our game?
I think the administrators, if you start from the top, the administrators to start with have to be a bit more visionary rather than reactive.
You're going right up to the top.
I am.
You're going right in at the RFL.
Going at Tony Adams.
You're saying, right, this is what you need to do. Go on.
The Tony Adams Awards, obviously. Yeah, at the top, I think we need a vision. Yeah, and
Do you know?
I think we're going the right way.
Yeah.
You know, it's not major surgery, but if you're not being proactive and being a bit of a visionary as a national governing body and as a leadership group, you're actually going to go backwards, aren't you? So you have to be proactive.
Yeah, if you're not growing, you're dying, aren't you? That's the simple.
And if you relate that to a market, we want a bigger market share in rugby league. I think we are going the right way, but I'm not sure if all the things that have been tried have been thought about enough.
Yeah.
Elaborate.
Well, he did say in the car,
No
if
comment.
I start talking, it's like, just shut me up. But,
No comment.
I mean, I find it hard to believe, you know, I'd like to think that at the top of the RFL, there's smarter people than me. Now, if I was like, you don't think that. If I was at the top of RFL, I'd be going, right, what is our vision? You know, and get smart people around me that could answer that and come up with they must be doing that. There must be. So then is it a case of they're not communicating that right? We're not like following through on that stuff or what?
You've got to
There's
build
lots of
foundations to support rugby league, haven't you? And maybe we'd like to see some more of those foundations put in. A player pathway, rugby league in areas that are closer to the heartlands.
Yeah, like a natural concentric circles out from the heartlands.
Yeah,
makes a little bit more sense than, you know.
For me.
It will for you because Nottingham is the natural progression, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sheffield, Nottingham,
Yeah.
you know, all those areas there are prime, absolutely prime for it.
And don't forget London.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost another country in itself, isn't it? So yeah, there's a bit of a presence of rugby league in London. Yeah, let's stretch that out a bit.
Yeah,
you know, what's our plan?
But
that's our nearest rugby development officer is in London.
Really?
I think so.
Well,
when I spoke to him, I think he was based in London.
Southwest Development Officer, is it, or something like that?
Yeah.
So are you in like a bit of limbo then, being in Nottingham, sort of Derby area? Like you're not really covered, not really on the thought process for the clubs in the heartland, and then you're too far north for that development officer in the south.
Possibly, yes. But I think recently we've had to say how many people are playing at our club and touch players as well. And I know for what reason. It's to see how many people are actually engaged and playing rugby league in our area. And now, once they've got those facts and figures, and they can start to base their funding on that as well. So, you know, if we continue to grow and make the right noises, I'm sure we'll be recognised more. Yeah, and that's the hope.
Yeah.
But you'd think it would be a bit more than the hope, wouldn't you? Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're flourishing.
Yeah.
It's like a gimme, isn't it? But it's not.
Get someone out, go and have a look, see what what's actually happening on the ground. You know what I mean? And then you know, kind of dangle a carrot.
It's a huge untapped area, isn't it, across the Midlands?
Yeah.
So, you know, there's room for development there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, massive room for development and a ton of talent.
I think going back to what you said about the RFL is they've potentially gone outside the box this time, haven't they, with the IMG, and they've basically gone to a top administrative company and basically said, what's your vision for rugby league? And we're all in limbo at the minute because we're waiting to see what it's actually going to be. So it's a bit of a difficult question for us to sort of come up with a theory on at the minute. Obviously, what's gone on before hasn't necessarily worked. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of it in the next couple of months, I think.
Exciting times.
It's very easy to throw stones, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
There's some really good people in rugby league, like your Fred.
Yeah.
So they can only do so much, and then obviously they get frustrated themselves. So it's about controlling what they can control.
One theory that I definitely have is that international rugby is the absolute future for the sport, because when international rugby league is thriving, I generally think the whole game is thriving.
Yeah.
And we don't have enough international rugby, is my opinion, and it's a crying shame. And that's down to, there's a lot of politics involved in there when it comes to the Aussies and the NRL and all the rest of it. But yeah, we only got to look at the success of the Rugby League World Cup. The last 2 World Cups on British soil have been really good.
Yeah.
And on the back of them, I think the game's grown.
Yeah.
So yeah, more international rugby is my theory, and I think that's what rugby union does better than rugby league. The Six Nations, it playing England, it's the absolute pinnacle of the sport, isn't it? And because in rugby league we only have a test match, sometimes only once a year, don't we? Back end of October. I think they need them mid-season and a lot more of them.
Yeah, great idea.
Well, just looking for the future, looking towards the future, sort of 3 parts to this next bit. Future aspirations. What are the aspirations of the Nottingham Outlaws? That's something we're really interested in. I'm really interested in the aspirations of the university teams and where they kind of see that going. And then we'll finish up with like your own personal aspirations, whether it be coaching, in rugby league or further afield. So quite a lot to sort of get your teeth into there.
For Outlaws, to have a winning season to start with, and then to increase our players pool, I should say, and then to have our facilities, have a clubhouse. That's what we need. That supports our player pool as that gets bigger. We need a new clubhouse. It's a demountable building, and it's getting old, and it's to a point where it's difficult to actually justify to spend money on it.
Really?
So yeah, you can't see that, and it's not like that at the moment. But we definitely need a clubhouse, and that's our aim. Yeah.
You spoke to us off air. I think it was off air about an idea that you had.
Oh yeah. For
creating essentially shares in a community club. Feed that back out, because that was really interesting.
Well, I was told this by the chap at Macron, John Ward, and he was the chairman for Rushden and Diamonds.
All right.
Yeah, and they had sponsored by Dr. Martins, the football team in non-league or around the league setup. So they had a bit of a walkout, or the chairman done something, or lost the sponsor. So the fans actually, there was 500 of them at the annual general meeting. They actually said, "We're by the club, we're run it." And I think it's called community ownership. And John led me down that sort of like road to having a look at that. And it's really interesting where, you would own your own club. So obviously you would be very engaged in what the club would do. And also that organisation comes out and walks you through the process. So I think that's worth looking at for clubs. That's something that could be modern, very, very modern, in a sort of like a traditional sort of club setup, because you would automatically create an interest
you got skin in the
driving
game.
The club forward.
Yeah, you've got skin in the game. You know what I mean?
That's right, a leg in the horse.
Yeah, exactly. All those different things. There's a pub quite near here, actually, which is community owned, and actually, it's one of the best pubs around here. The food is phenomenal standard. You know what I mean? It's just owned by a small village, and it definitely has,
well, it's yours, isn't it?
Yeah,
you want to look after it.
Yeah, it's like no one looks after the hire car, do they? You know what I mean? No, do they? You know what I mean? The whole hire car routine where nobody looks after it, and but then you get your own car and you're like, oh no, well because it's yours. It belongs to you.
That's right.
It'd be good. That'd be good to look into that.
Investigating. Maybe you could put a link on.
I wonder if any
on the podcast.
Definitely.
I wonder if any rugby league clubs have been community owned like that.
Yes, a lot. When I looked into it, a lot. Yeah, a good 30 out of 45 were community owned. Yeah,
and are you talking?
Gone through that process.
Are you talking amateur clubs, or are you talking like semi-pro?
To be honest, I can't remember. I think it was mainly amateur clubs who reinvented themselves in some way. And I think that's a really good way to do it.
It's an interesting, definitely an interesting way of improving your facilities and getting people investing into your club, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah, well,
there is a, it was the Wrexham guy.
Oh, yeah, Ryan Reynolds.
There's one of them somewhere.
Yeah, there's got to be. There's got to be.
Yeah.
You got to reach out. Defo.
Yeah. Okay. How do we get onto that?
I don't know. We've gone on some tangents. It's really enjoyable.
Nottingham aspirations.
Nottingham aspirations, and then your personal aspirations. That's the next one.
To keep enjoying myself, keep being passionate about coaching, and to finish my study, because it is a pain in the arse.
Really? Does it just
Sometimes
consume everything you're doing right now? I mean, I speak to people who are doing like a master's, and this is beyond master's level.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is like a research in the field, which is, I find it more practical, definitely, rather than research for research's sake.
Yeah.
So it's a deep run. So really enjoying that. So to finish that and to get a good grade as well would be the cherry on top. But I've always said 51% I'll take. 51 all the way, baby. Definitely.
Yeah. So if you compared that coaching qualification, maybe it doesn't marry across and there's no parallel to it. But say you took like a Super League coach. I mean, what level would they be? How would it compare? It wouldn't.
It's a different journey, different route, different way of thinking, because they would have tacit knowledge. So that's the knowledge you can't explain that you've got.
Yeah,
you've got.
Yeah.
So I've met some really, really good coaches who haven't got one coaching badge, who make a lot more sense than people who have got that level 4, which is probably the top of rugby league coaches. Level 4. Yeah. So that's where the University of Central Lancashire, they endorse that coaching badge. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the age-old conversation. Who do you want to take into the mountains? Like the guy who's done a 12-week course, or the person that's bloody lived there all his life. You know what I mean? It's like interesting.
Yes, yeah. So the procedural knowledge is the knowledge that you've learnt, and the tacit knowledge is the knowledge that you have already, but you don't really know how you've got it.
Yeah.
So a little bit of both, but the guy with experience.
Well, I mean, but look at Matty Pete at Wigan. Like, I don't think he played at a particularly good standard, did he?
Not the best coaches don't play at the best standard, because it's a different mindset. So a player's mindset would be a bit more selfish, and the coach's mindset is a bit more selfless.
Yeah.
So the best coaches never really reach that pinnacle in their playing career. You find generally.
That's interesting.
There's an exception. Yeah, there's an exception to the rule.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is interesting. But with going back to the guy in the mountains, there's no reason, to learn a little bit more about the game, and I think the game's got a lot to learn from the mental processes, and you pick that up in more of the elite side of the game. But why not embrace that and imitate that, lower down the levels? Why not get an edge?
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. So. Brilliant. Okay. Anything else we should have asked you, Roy, or have you enjoyed your time with us?
Oh, I've had a blast. Thanks very much. I was a little bit nervous to start with, but I've warmed up to the task. So thanks very much, lads, for having us, and it's been an absolute pleasure, and I wish you all the best.
Well, we haven't finished yet. We've got our golden point question.
I was just about to leave, but
We're going to run off.
I'll leave on top.
Anything else, Karl, that you want to?
No, I think he's nailed it, to be honest with you.
Okay, so the simple matter of the golden point question, which was set by Pete Gattenby and Toby Whelan. So Pete basically said, what should we be doing as a collection of clubs to make the Midlands game more engaging and exciting? So, Roy, I put that question to you.
I try to live in a world without any surprises. I did watch the podcast and I forgot the bloody question. So, yeah, thanks for the reminder. I would say let's have a cup competition. Let's get together, celebrate Midlands rugby. Let's have a cup competition.
So,
and a few beers too.
That's definitely key. So you're thinking you have the league,
yep,
but then also a cup as well.
Yeah, you can have a knockout on the day.
And you think all the merit teams are in there, the Premier... Is that what you're thinking? Like
more the merrier. Just chuck them all in.
There's teams like like the Midlands Cup would be ace, wouldn't it? Because you've got like Nottingham Outlaws, who they're not in the Midlands League, are they?
Correct. We're in the Yorkshire One.
Yeah, Yorkshire One.
Derby out in the Midlands League. You've got I've missed one. Sherwood out in the Midlands League. You throw them in with the 5 Premier teams from the Midlands. Couple of top-seeded Merit League teams who are going to be full field fixtures,
or even a Barbarians team.
You got a great competition there.
Have a festival, invite the universities.
Oh yeah,
it gets better.
Yeah. Right, I genuinely think you're onto something here.
We've solved
something. I really do think you do. Yeah,
and it could be even better than that. You could have a chuck all the balls in the hat, Royal Rumble style.
Yes.
Pick a number out. Right, Nottingham. First game you're playing Telford or
like a full-on draw like that.
Do it on the day.
I'll have it random.
So you don't even know you're going to play. But obviously there'd have to be shorter games, wouldn't there?
Yeah.
There'd have to be 20, 30-minute games or something like that.
I think a one-dayer, or you could... One day is easier, isn't it? Just rock up and play. Now I'm thinking 2-dayer with a folk festival. A bit of rock and roll and a live podcast.
Well, a one day.
We need a big stadium. Do we know any teams with a big stadium? Yeah, we got that sorted on lockdown.
Well, we had. It'd definitely make it more exciting. Do you think it'd make it more engaging? I think people would turn out for that.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah, find the right date.
Yeah.
We might have just missed the right day, haven't we?
The first weekend after the season ends, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, is that not... You're not getting into like union
stuff union. Let's have a League Cup.
Sometimes you just got to...
I'll tell you what as well, just to follow on from that, is, if you had a small entry fee, you know what I mean, a contribution from every club, and then a prize.
A prize pot.
A prize pot, and not just a winning team pot, but, player of the tournament.
Win your weight in beer.
Be great. Booze up as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. It would. Okay, Roy, thanks a lot. It's been absolutely, brilliant to talk to you, and you've given some massive insights into different sports and your own background. I've really enjoyed it. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, from me as well. A lot of different theories, and we've gone in little different ways that we've not necessarily been on different episodes. So yeah, that's a testament to you, and I really enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you. It's been fun. Cheers, lads.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's the final whistle for this week's episode of the Rugby League Outsiders. We hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to follow us on social media and share this podcast with your friends. And as always, if you have a story to tell, a club to plug, or a player that deserves recognition, we want to hear from you. So until next time on the Rugby League Outsiders, take care.